Hey everyone, this is your man Sky Yannick, host of the JO Galaxy. Welcome everyone to my video. Now today's video is, as you saw by the title, I'm going to talk about this current generation and how I feel this current video game generation is pretty much the worst one ever. And I'm going to go into detail about why I feel that way. Now, you may say that's crazy though. We have games that look amazing. We have games that are triple A. We have these, great systems. The Xbox Series X, the Switch is doing good. The PlayStation 5, and I love all those systems, and I have those systems. Well, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X I don't have yet, but I do plan on getting those. But I have all the other Sony systems and Xbox systems. So I love those systems, but you may wonder, why am I saying this is the worst video game generation? The reason why I say that is this. Here's basically what we're asked to do. We have two systems, the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. Both of them costing $500. Now, what are you getting for that $500? Well, you're getting systems that are very good systems, but the graphics, if you compare the graphics on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, the PlayStation 5 of course is going to look better, but you don't see as much of a big difference between the graphics, okay? Play same thing with Xbox Series X and the Xbox X from the Xbox One era. You don't see a big difference in graphics, but you're expected to pay $500. Okay, okay. Now that wouldn't be such a big issue if the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 both had exclusive games that you could only play on those systems, or if they had graphics that could only be represented on those systems. Now, in previous generations, let's look at, for instance, the Xbox 360. Loved the Xbox 360, okay? But there were games on the PlayStation, the games on the Xbox One, even the launch titles, even though some of them were not received very well critically, they still had graphics on them that the 360 just couldn't do. For example, Rise, Son of Rome. I know a lot of critics didn't like that one. I loved it, by the way. But anyway, it had graphics that just couldn't been that could not have been done on the 360. So when you was asked to pay that extra money for this new generational system, it actually made sense, because you look at the graphics on Rise, you look at the graphics on Forza Motorsports 5, and those couldn't have been done on the 360. So you kind of had a reason to go out there and get it. On the PlayStation side, you had games like Shadowfall. Once again, Killzone Shadowfall was not well received. It was not that good of a game. But graphically, as far as what it could do, and the graphics on it, could not have been done on a PlayStation 3. So once again, it gives you a reason to go out there and buy that game. Not to mention the fact that those games were only on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. Okay, there wasn't a Rise Son of Rome on the 360 that just looked a little less, that looked a little worse, but you could still get on the 360. There wasn't a Killzone Shadowfall that you can get on PlayStation 3. It looks a little bit worse, but you get on PlayStation 3. There was a reason for getting these games. Let's look at the generation before the 360. For example, I love the original Xbox. And the original Xbox was more powerful than the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube. But the graphics on the 360, even if you look at the launch titles like Cameo, Call of Duty 3, Ridge Racer, Tomb Raider, these games had graphics and gameplay that just couldn't been done, that just could not have been done on the original Xbox. PlayStation 3, you look at God of War on PlayStation 3, God of War 3. That game could not have been done on the PlayStation 2. So there was a reason to go to this next generation to get these systems, okay? Now let's look at what's going on now. Okay? You go out there and you get an Xbox game, and you're told, okay, this game you can play on your Xbox Ones or the Series X. Of course, the Series X is going to look better, and if you play these games on the Xbox One, the system is going to upgrade them a little bit to make them look a little bit better. But let's not fool ourselves, people. Let's not fool ourselves. Okay, let's be real about this. Even if a game is upgraded a little bit, you take an Xbox One game, you upgrade it a little bit, when you play it on the Xbox Series X, it still isn't going to look as good as a game that was built from the ground up to take advantage of the Xbox Series X power. Okay? It's not. It just isn't. Okay? It just isn't. Okay? Same thing on PlayStation 4. You get a PlayStation 4 version of, let's say, Horizon. Right? Horizon, the second one, right? And you put on and it says, okay, it's going to upgrade it to, any other game, PlayStation 4 game. It's going to upgrade to make it look better on PlayStation 5. It still isn't going to look as good as the version that was built from the ground up to be on the PlayStation 5. It's just not going to look as good. It's going to be kind of a little kink, little tweak here, a little tweak there to, make it look a little bit better, okay? But it's not the same as the one that's going to be built from the ground up. But you expected to pay $500 for this, PlayStation 5 or this Xbox Series X when the same games are on the previous generation. And there's not that big of a difference in graphics. Not $500 worth. Now, am I going to get the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5? Yes, eventually I will, because I am a game collector and I do critique these systems. But I'm not rushing to do it. I could have got me one a year ago. I could have already had a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. I got the funds, I have the resources, I have many opportunities. But I'm just so far, I haven't been moved like I was in the previous generation to go out there and get that next gen system. I'm just not moved yet. So I know I will in the future. I will, because eventually they will phase out those other consoles. But this is the worst video game generation as far as I'm concerned, because with previous generations you had a reason to go out there and get those next gen systems day one. You had a reason for it day one. There were games that you could only get on those new gen systems. Those new gen systems were able to do things that you could only do on those systems. Now it's like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and come out with a system where the graphics will look a little bit better than the previous system, just a little bit better than the previous systems, just a little bit better. Okay, but we want you to pay $500 for that. We want you to pay $500 for that. Okay, $500 just so you can play a better looking version of God of War. Okay, or a better looking version of another game. Okay, just so you can play a better looking version of it. Not because that's the only place you can get that game on the system. No, just so you can play a better looking version of it. And we want you to pay $500 for that. Okay? Worst generation ever. Okay? And how many of these so-called AAA titles have bombed? Okay? This generation, I have seen more bombs, more overhyped games that have bombed. I've seen more of them in this generation than previous generations. And that's crazy when you look at the fact that supposedly, these graphics in this generation, what these systems could do, you should really see some good solid titles. And you're not. You're seeing bomb after bomb after bomb. Every game is hyped up and everything, and it's bomb and bomb and bomb. And the weird thing about it is the games that are doing good are remasters of games from the previous generation. It's crazy. All these new so-called hyped up games with this current generation are flopping, bombing. Now there's some good ones, but most of them are bombing. But the ones that most people are really liking that are not bombing are the ones that are remasters of previous generations. So that's why I say that's another reason why this generation so far is the worst. Now I do have hope for it. I do believe that as the older systems are phased out, that game developers will have no choice but to start making exclusive titles for these next gen systems, and you will really see some good games. But for right now, this is the most disappointing generation. And where are the games that are exclusive that you could only play on the Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5? Where are those games? There's a couple here, a couple there, but really, where are the games that can only be played? I'm not talking about a better looking version. There's another version on the previous generation. I mean, can only be played on the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. Where are these games? Like I said, the previous generation, there were games that you were only able to play on the PlayStation 4. You couldn't play it on PlayStation 3. Right? PlayStation 4 you had, whether you liked it or not, PlayStation 4, Shadows, Killzone, okay, Knack, alright, Drive Club for the PlayStation, Xbox side, Crimson Dragon, Local Cycle, Dead Rising 3, Forza, okay, Forza 5, Rise. These were games you could only play. Oh, and also Killer Instinct also. You could only play them on the Xbox One or PlayStation 4. You couldn't play it on the previous generation. Couldn't play them on the 360. Couldn't play them on the 360. I mean on PlayStation 3. That gave you a reason to get these new systems. Because games that were only able to be played on the next gen. This gen, we don't have that. And that's why I say this is the most disappointing generation so far. This is your man, Skyonic. If you like my video, you like my content, like and subscribe. You all have a good day.